No, 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 no. I thought it was a pound of butter.
Oh, you joined just at the right time, gents.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Oh,
Just the perfect time to miss the joke.
yeah.
And I use the word joke in the loosest possible sense.
It's that time of the week, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good day from wherever you are. And welcome to another edition of the Digital Download.
What is it, Rob? What is the digital download?
It is the longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
Woo!
This week, we're going to talk about landing your next role in a candidate flooded market. At the end of 2022, we ran a digital download episode entitled Networking for Your Next Job in response to the numerous layoffs at the time. Since then, we've exceeded last year's layoffs already. There are almost 200,000 additional tech layoffs in 2023.
I was reading that just this morning, actually. So in 2022, the thing that I read said there were 164,709 layoffs in tech. And this year, and we're not even halfway through the year yet, 199,297 layoffs in tech.
Yeah. And keep in mind, everyone talks about a coming recession, and we've not officially had a recession declared yet. So it feels like it could get worse before it gets better. So with that in mind, we thought it might be helpful to revisit the topic and expand on some of the ideas discussed in the December episode. Before we get into that, though, let's go around the horn with some introductions. First of all, Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Gray. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I'm not a proud partner of DLA Ignite because I'm one of the co-founders of DLA Ignite. And I'm really pleased that we're talking about this today, because Absolutely. It's like every time I log into LinkedIn, I see somebody sharing news of the fact that they've been laid off or they're under threat of redundancy. And I think it's a scary time for a lot of people out there.
Right. Thank you for that. Tim.
Hi, yes, thank you, Rob. My name's Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And I'd like to echo Adam's comments that, that we set this up, the digital download, that is, really to educate people. And I think it's a great subject matter to pick, which is to try and educate people to help them get jobs. If you look at the website layoffs.fyi, it actually tracks the layoffs that are coming up. And remember, those are ones that are announced. This doesn't include where people are maybe pipped out of the organization or managed out of the organization. So it's really important, and I think we're trying to give something back to make sure that people have the education to help them get another job. So thank you.
Thank you. Alex.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. So Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro. We're a B2B sales consultancy that focuses on social and value selling. And again, I want to echo what Tim and Rob and Adam have been saying. And, proud, I don't know if you can see that, proud supporter of Mental Health Week that we just had in the UK last week. There's many people that are suffering and experiencing many different emotions as a result of being laid off. And so I'm glad we get to talk about this and hopefully give something back and help people find a new job.
Right. Thank you. And Jensen.
Good day, all. Sorry, that's very Australian, wasn't it? Good day. Hi.
Good day.
B2B social influence and interactions coach at Sapiro, and also a proud DLA Ignite partner.
Excellent. Thank you. And myself, I am Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results. We help startups scale. And myself, at my core, I'm a teacher at heart. I'm a helper. And I love this topic because this is an opportunity for me to do just that, to contribute, to help in some way, shape, or form. So, as I mentioned, this isn't the first time we've touched on this topic. We touched on this topic previously in December of last year. And at that time, some of the key takeaways that we had included things like digital networking requires being friendly and sociable to develop relationships and connections. We talked about humanizing your LinkedIn profile and posts by writing them in a conversational style that can make the reader feel like they're having a conversation with someone they'd want to connect with, not just an advert. And your social presence can provide access to job opportunities not even advertised. So to follow up on that, let's start with the first one. How can you use your social presence to effectively stand out from the crowd in your job search? As Tim reminded me when we were speaking about this topic earlier in the week, if Oracle announced yesterday that there were 10,000 layoffs, I don't know that they did. I'm just saying if, for example.
Oh,
and today you go in and sadly you're informed that you're being laid off too. You are now the 10,001st applicant in the job applicant pool. So we come back to, how do you stand out as one in 10,001? How can you use your social presence to effectively stand out from the crowd in your job search?
Yeah,
well, I think there are two things, aren't there? First is that it's your only USP is you. So, you know, people talk about how they're a professional, self-motivated, overachieving, totally focused, customer-loving expert in this field, but actually they're just words. And the problem is that, you know, Alex has been in sales for 23 years and I've been in it for 25 years and Tim has been in it for 27 years. Well, therefore, Tim must be better because he's been in it for longer than anyone else on the. And actually, that kind of logic doesn't make sense. And the problem is, if you provide these yardsticks for people, they will use the yardsticks. So I think that's the first thing. But the second thing is that your value is not defined necessarily by how you dovetail your response to the advert that has been placed there. So I was speaking to somebody just yesterday, I think, and they had left their previous job, and they had left in a bit of a hurry because there had been a falling out, and they said, "Right, I'm out of here," and they had said that they were quite concerned that they were going into a busy market. You know, they're in sales, so loads of people have been laid off, loads of people haven't made quota, so there's a big pool of potential candidates out there. And they said that they know they're good. I mean, clearly they're good because they've already re-employed like 10 days later. And what they said was that the danger is that you just respond to the job advert. And they said that one of the things that they do is they phone the hiring manager and they say, "I can't really tell from the job advert whether I'm a good fit for this. So can you talk to me about the job, please, to see whether it's worth applying?" And one of the reasons they do that is that they get a chance to speak to the hiring manager, which must give them a competitive advantage. They get known by the hiring manager, and then they get to focus on the jobs where they are a good match. You know, tell me a little bit about the company culture, see if it's the kind of business I want to be working with, and I'll tell you a little bit about me, whether I'm the kind of person that it's worth you even looking at my CV. And actually, that's a very powerful way of dealing with that situation differently, rather than just say, "Well, I'm going to send in my CV with a covering letter, along with, as you said, Rob, the 10,000 other people that have been laid off from this business this week."
I think I agree, Adam, and I think that when you get laid off, when you go through a job process, it's a sale. It's exactly the same as if you were going through a sales process.
Amen.
And what happens is that you need to so you need to have the mindset of saying, because quite often what happens is that you're going through this process and you seem to forget all that. And what you have to do is you have to put yourself in if I was going through a sale, what would I do? The classic example was when I used to work in corporate, and we used to the sales process always ended up with the final interview was a presentation. Now, as far as we were concerned, you were coming to present to the board, so we would expect you to do all of the things that you would do to present to the board, which is you would actually try to speak to everybody on the panel, find out what it is that they were looking for, and what they were measuring, how they were measuring the criteria that they were using. And we would just get people turning up thinking it's a presentation, and we'd go, so what you want? And they said, well, I'm coming to present. And you go, well, what? And whereas other people have gone around and actually spoken to the people. Now, you may not actually get to speak to the person, but the fact that you actually tried to reach out was the fact that you ticked the box. The fact that you tried to actually speak to that person and understand what their criteria were. So it's about thinking about this as a sale, and the best thing that you can learn is how to sell yourself.
So the sale was closed before the presentation even started.
Yeah. You if we had people turning up and they hadn't done that and they'd lost before, exactly. It was a no. Even they didn't even need to present. They should have just gone out.
We've got a couple of comments. I'm sorry, Adam. I want to jump to them. Bring the audience in as well. Yeah. First of all, Ellie. Ellie says Oracle did actually lay off about 10,000 people. I was affected, so I'm glad to be here. First of all, I'm very sorry to hear that, Ellie. And second, we are very glad that you are here, and reach out to any of us if we can help in any way, shape, or form. Another comment we had was from Phil, in addition to the weekly greeting, an observation to kick things off. He says, a client of mine, a co-owner of a mid-sized technology service provider, told me that there were some upsides to the layoffs from big tech providers. It makes it easier for companies like his to recruit and keep the wage inflation that was getting out of control post-pandemic in check. So that's not to take anything away from those affected, but more of a hopeful point. And yes, for every cloud, there can be a silver lining. But for every 10,000 laid off at Oracle, the small business can't pick up all 10,000 of those. So it's still about how do you stand out in that pool of 10,001. I'm sorry, Adam, I had cut you off.
No, I was going to say about, Tim saying about it's a presentation. I mean, I think that one of the things that's really interesting is that when you're in sales, you want to try to control the process. So if you just sit and respond to client questions, actually that assumes that the client knows what it is that they're buying, that they understand all of the parameters, and it means that you're entirely passive in that relationship. And actually, there's a huge amount of value to be had from trying to take control, or at least partial control, of that situation to ensure that you're presenting the things that you need to say, that the client or the prospect needs to hear, and control that process. But often in recruitment, what we do is we send the CV off, and then we sit there staring at the phone with our arms folded, waiting for the phone to ring. And they say, I'm pleased to say, you've got an interview. And then you go to the interview and you sit in the room and they ask you questions which you answer. And actually, that's completely at odds, as you said, Tim, completely at odds with what your expectation of this person that you're going to hire is. You expect them to walk in and say, hello, I'm here to tell you about me today, and then give you a presentation, give you something, and for them to drive that narrative. And I think it's really interesting that again, as you said, Tim, that often the salesperson particularly turns up in that meeting and they're so counter to their normal working behavior, and they can be brilliant at sales. And the one thing that they fail to demonstrate in that meeting often is that they're brilliant at sales.
So Rob Turl brings up an interesting question. how do you stand out if you don't necessarily know the problem the CEO and exec team are facing?
So I mean,
isn't that what every enterprise seller does?
I've got many of my jobs by ringing up the sales director and asking if there's any jobs.
Sure.
Because if you phone the sales director, there's a chance you'll phone the prospect, isn't there?
Well, yeah. You know, if you're passive about it, then the only assumption that I can jump to as a leader is that you're passive in your sales approach. Mm. You know, if you ring me and say, "Have you got any jobs?" it shows that you have a proactive approach, which is one of the ticks in the box. Yeah. And to answer Rob, ring them up and ask them.
Yeah.
And the parallels don't stop there. Think about the B2B sales process. There's not a single buyer. In the hiring process, there's not a single buyer. There is, of course, the hiring manager. That's typically the person that you would report to. But during the interview process, you don't even get to the hiring manager straight off. Typically, you go through the recruiter, and maybe you go through the outside recruiter, and then the inside recruiter, and then the hiring manager, and then the hiring manager's superior, and then you interview with the team that you would be working with, and then you interview with the team that you'll be working with, but not directly reporting with. There are as many players in that sales process as any other B2B sales process. So how do you effectively stand out?
I would expect the candidate to connect with me on LinkedIn as a hiring manager. I would expect the candidate to have looked me up and understand what I'm about and maybe pick a few things, just as you would do if you were going to see any other prospect or customer. I told this story previously in the week, and you wanted me to share this. I went to this one interview with this company that no longer exists. And the sales director, I'd actually been prepped by the recruitment consultant that the sales director does this. But when you walked into the interview, the sales director said, "Right, so why are we here?"
I remember this story now.
And silence.
Pregnant pause.
And he just shut up. And, you know, there was people that would say, "Well, I think I'm here for an interview." He goes, "This is a meeting. It's a meeting like any other meeting. I would expect you to have prepared for it. I would expect that you're a salesperson. You would have come with the structure. You would say, right, well, I'm here. These are the things that I want to talk about. What do you want to get out of the meeting? Okay, let's add those things. Okay, so what does good look like for you? And it's an expectation that you would then close that meeting as well. Did you meet their expectations? What are the strengths and weaknesses? You know, going into a meeting and controlling that meeting, and that's what I expect a candidate to do, because that's what I expect you to do as part of your job. And if I know that you're doing that as part of the interview process, I know once I've hired you, once you're going out and having those meetings, I know that you're doing that.
I think what's really interesting is that if you're the hiring manager and somebody behaves in that way, even if you don't like them doing that, you cannot fail but to be impressed that they have done that.
Yes.
And one of the nice things about that is that you're certainly not going to be, oh yeah, and there was this other chap you will be remembered. And I remember when I was going into corporate and we were interviewing the team, and my boss had said that he'd interviewed a whole bunch of people, and one of them, he had flown over to the UK from the Nordics, and this guy had put together a proper PowerPoint presentation. And he said, right, so I'm going to talk about how I'm going to break this product into this marketplace. This is the things that I've done before. These are the things that have worked. These are the things that aren't. And I'm planning to start with this, but I'm going to reevaluate this. And my boss was just like, oh my God, I've never seen that before in an interview. And the end result was, of course, that he did get the job and he was absolutely brilliant. But the point is that that marker that he put in the sand was a marker of, I mean business. This isn't a game. And that's what people need to see today. The reason that people are going to hire you into their company, particularly if you're in sales, but in any role, is because you're going to provide value. So I want to see that from the get-go.
Yeah. And
second, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, the thing about when you interview a lot of people, what you find is that most people come and tell you the same thing. So you end up in these Groundhog Day meetings of them coming in and saying, I've sat in front of so many people that said that social selling is the thing that they want. It's their passion, it's their calling and stuff. And I don't believe anybody who says that to me in an interview anymore. Maybe it is, but you hear it so many times. What you're looking for is someone that's going to come in and actually break the ice, as in someone that's going to come in and say, look, I've looked at your profile, looked at your company. These are the things that I think are, using my business acumen, this is what I think is of the business issues that your customers or your prospects have, and actually coming in and showing that you can make a difference. And I've seen so many people also interview really, really well and then not get the job. And the feedback always was they didn't close at the end of the meeting.
If you're that sales candidate,
you're expected to close on the next action for every single meeting. You're driving the process, and you're doing that with an interview as well.
Absolutely. If you're that sales candidate that treats the interview process as a sales process, and you do the prep work and you do the outreach and you come to the interview as though it's a presentation, and then to your point, Adam, the hiring manager doesn't like it or doesn't like you because of it, that's the second best outcome you could hope for. The first, of course, is they do like it and they hire you. But if they don't like it and they don't hire you, you dodged a major bullet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you get turned down for a job, don't take it badly. You dodged a bullet.
Oh, that is so hard, though.
It is
not take
hard,
it personal.
It's such a competitive market, though, and you think, you're talking through some of these ideas, and for many it seems like a moon landing to do those things, pull them out of the emotional state that they're in, having perhaps lost their job recently, maybe feeling angry, maybe feeling depressed, and then they're one of 100 applicants applying and applying and applying. It's
But surely the reason they're applying is because they're not standing out. We know from our own analysis of psychological research on this, if you look like everybody else, it doesn't matter who somebody picks. So I'm going to take 6 people forward and 20 people apply. So there's a 6 in 20 chance of me being one of those people. But if I'm the wacky candidate, if I'm the candidate that turns up and says, okay, we're going to begin by singing a song, or whatever the USP is, at the very least, I'm going to be remembered. I'm going to be that person. They go, well, we've got the 5, and let's put the wacky person in as well.
Yeah,
because the one that's challenging.
One of the classic things that you can do to make that difference is to have something preset that you've set that you can say, can I whiteboard this? It's all, and if you can actually stand there and say, let me just, even if it's just talking through your career history, let me just, and obviously you need to prep this, just don't turn up and do it, and prep it in front of yourself in the bathroom or something, but have something there that you can whiteboard, because from a sales perspective, or any leadership position, it doesn't matter whether you're in sales or whether you're in customer service, there's an expectation at some point that you're going to get up and have to stand on your 2 feet and whiteboard something. And that, nobody likes doing it in an interview, and it really sets you apart. And it's just one of the things that I learned to do, and I'm just sharing it with people.
So this is all standing out in the interview process.
Yes.
But we're not we've got to get to the interview process. How do we stand out with our social presence to help us get to that interview stage?
But I put my 2 key things that I put at the top of my kind of notes for today were be different and be proactive. And I think that's true in your normal modus operandi. You do that in an interview. Whatever you're doing, I want to do something else. And the reason I want to do something else is that if I'm trying to copy what you're doing, I'm playing your game, and I need to play my game. That gives me the best chance. So I need to be myself, and I need to be proactive. Like Tim said, checking out the person's profile, connecting them, try to engage them in a conversation if you know who they are prior to having the interview. But the same thing is true for the longer term things. How you present yourself across all of the different social networks. Do you look like you're interesting? Do you look like you've got a viewpoint on things? Do you look like you're somebody that is proactive? Are you somebody that's prepared to stand up and address an audience? all of these things, which are such powerful business. If you've got a LinkedIn profile, for example, which has not been updated for a decade and has got no content on it, and it says, I sell things to people that don't want to buy them, or whatever it is, and people read it and they go, I don't like the look of that person. That's the expectation. If you do get called in for an interview, that's the expectation. We're beginning from a point of me not wanting to talk to you. Whereas if you look thrilling, if you've got pictures of you cycling and painting, and here's my view on this, and I've recently traveled here on business, and there's a picture of you at the departure gate, all of those things, you're at least hoping that the person that you want to talk to might say at some point, oh, I looked at your LinkedIn profile, I saw that you just flew to the Netherlands. Do you have a good time there? Because at least you've got something you can talk about. And back to the point that, this is how you behave when you're dealing with a customer. Why would you not showcase your brilliant customer skills, whether you're in sales or customer service or marketing or HR or whatever? Why would you not showcase your brilliant customer skills in the interview as if they were a customer?
Yeah.
One of the things that I always have done is take the materials. So I don't know if you have CVs anymore. I don't have one. But I did have an infographic for a little while. But the thing is whatever you're going to, someone says, I need something, then that needs to be tailored to whoever it is that you're talking to. You can't just have in a market like this, you can't just have one CV. If you're going for an interview where they're selling to life sciences, you need to bring out the life sciences knowledge and acumen in your CV or whatever it is that you put forward.
I think what's really interesting there is that you used the words knowledge and acumen, and not deliberately not the word experience, because actually we get into this experience boasting thing. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been doing it for 12. Oh, you haven't got 12 years experience. What you've got is the same year 12 times in most cases. So show me what you know. Show me what's special about you in this area. That's what people need to see, isn't it? The thing that differentiates you.
It's business knowledge.
Yeah.
Along those lines, one of the key takeaways from our December episode was humanizing your LinkedIn profile and posts. So what does humanized content look like? And how can that highlight my field expertise? How can that highlight my acumen, not experience, apparently?
Video. Using video.
Tell me more, Alex.
Yeah. Well, what better way? I mean, we, you talk about tailoring your CV, Tim. LinkedIn make it incredibly easy for people to apply for jobs these days. You can hit easy apply, done, job done. But actually, as we've talked about, tailoring your CV, writing a cover letter that is geared towards that organization and the role that you're applying for, but then taking that one step further and preparing a video that perhaps brings your CV and your covering letter to life, or even replaces your CV.
I think that bringing it to life is the important thing, isn't it? You can have the most impressive resume in the world, but it's only any good if I read it. And I'm not going to read it because I don't like the way it's written, or I don't like the photo, or I don't like the job title, or there's something at the top which turns me off. And then, we all jump to conclusions. So I read that bit at the top and I assume I know what the rest of it says. So I put you in the probably not pile. Whereas if you can be different and engaging and yourself, again, back to the dodging the bullet point, if you are yourself and they don't want that, that's not a place you want to be working. If you are yourself and they want that, then you've just annihilated all the competition because there's only one you. And secondly, if they're buying you for who you are, we hear so much about increasingly companies are hiring for attitude, because actually the experience you can learn, the skills you can learn. What you can't learn is the attitude. Showcase the attitude. Back to what Tim said, be proactive, take control of the situation, showcase that to people at every touch point. It can only serve to strengthen your position as an attractive proposition, can't it?
Okay.
Alex, did you know that the easy apply button is broken? It is, because it only has half the text it needs. It should say easy apply, hard to get hired.
Yes.
The easier you make it, the more the hiring manager or the recruiter gets flooded with opportunities, and the harder it is for you to stand out, even when you are perfect for the job and 99% of the easy applicants are not. It's just so overwhelming that it's very hard for you to get noticed with that easy apply. I dread when I see that.
But when there is the easy apply button, if you put yourself in the position of somebody who has just been laid off and they don't want to start their own business, they want to go back into the corporate world, and I'm a sales professional. I've been doing this for 25 years. Therefore, actually, it doesn't matter what I sell. I can go anywhere to do this. Then you open LinkedIn and you just go, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply. If I do 100, maybe one of them will ask for an interview. So I'll do 200, 500, 1,000, because why wouldn't I? Because literally I've just got to click a button to do it. And actually, if I were the hiring manager, those people would be the very last people I would want to talk to.
Well, there is a button on the other side. Easy reject, easy reject.
Yeah, but you know, actually what I want is somebody that says, I've looked at your company looks like a perfect fit for me. I've messaged a couple of people that work in the company and they seem like they're having a wonderful time there. I want to be part of that and I'll give you my all. What hiring manager doesn't want to hear those words?
See, if you were in a sales process and the customer says, this is the process that we're going to work to, as a salesperson, what would you do? What you do is go, okay, I'm going to follow that process, but I want to find my way around that. It's what salespeople do. Because if I can basically get around it, I'm ahead of the competition. So I would expect someone to send me a LinkedIn connection request and say, I'm applying for the job, really excited. Can we connect? Just something simple like that. Or, whatever you would say to me, if you passed me quickly in the corridor and you say, that job, I'd really like, okay, I'm gotta go. Whatever it is that you'd say and that connection request, it's all part of the whole. It's not just one thing that you've got to do. You've also got to make sure that, how do you stand out to the hiring manager? Connect to them and start having a conversation. I see that you were in Amsterdam 3 weeks ago, whatever it is. Because then I'm going to start looking out for you, and I'll start looking out for your CV rather than just press the reject button.
So this sounds easy enough, easy in quotation, air quotes, for somebody who's familiar with sales, for a salesperson looking for a sales job. But this same process could be for somebody who's looking for an accounting job or a finance job or an engineering job. And what do you say to people who are not familiar with the traditional sales process?
I think there's two things there, Rob. I think it's first impressions and go the extra mile, because first impressions everything.
Yep.
One, if you're meeting someone and you come across confident, and like Tim said, if you're able to have that conversation and go the extra mile and not just apply for the job, because even when you apply, you're still hidden amongst 100 other people that look the same as you. So you need to go the extra mile to stand out, whether, like Alex said, that is creating maybe a personalized video to the hiring manager or someone within that team that's connecting with the wider team. That's then starting to insert yourself into those networking opportunities with the team or the employees within the organization. So you're trying to have that ripple effect to actually, I can't remember who said it earlier on, but you are really trying to sell yourself at the end of the day. You want to make that hiring manager believe that you are the best person for the job and you're willing to go that extra mile. Because like Adam said, if you said to the hiring manager, I will do everything in my power to make this a success, who isn't going to want to hear that? If someone's going to go the extra mile and do everything possible to make it successful, I mean, if I was a hiring manager, I'd for sure take them on.
I think the other thing is that how you present yourself isn't just about your professionalism and your skill set. So if you're going to share an office with one other person and you've got two people, you've got somebody who's smiley and happy and someone who's really miserable and doesn't want to talk to you, which one would you rather be in an office with? And I think that this is the point. The more that we can make ourselves look attractive and interesting and the sort of person that is approachable and worthy of having a conversation with, the more likely they are to fit into the company culture. And so much of this is about saying, all of the fears that you have when you hire anybody into your business, I can allay some of those by presenting my best self on these channels.
Yeah, there was a post. There was a post the other day. I didn't interact with it, so I can't find it now. But I don't know if any of you saw it, with the guy who'd photoshopped himself in the ocean with a life belt around him, with his hand in the air, saying, "Help me! I've been made redundant. It's 2 months now. I need a job." And it had like 1,100 likes on it.
Yeah, I think that's actually gone past 5,000 likes now.
Jensen makes a great point. I mean, I know someone who recently got a job by sending a video to the hiring manager. He created a video and got a job. And, he stood out. Anyway, Rob.
Yeah. Yes.
Segue.
So Rob Turrell had a great comment. Most of the roles at the senior end are not advertised. They may be within a post, but they're not on LinkedIn Jobs, which brings us to the next takeaway from our December episode. Your social presence can provide access to job opportunities, not even advertised. So how can I get access to job opportunities not even advertised?
I think there's it's one of those urban myths. Was it 70 or 80% of jobs are never advertised?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So you're a salesperson. So you've got your target market, and you've got your ICP. So you've got your the person that you basically want to go and talk to, and you sit there and go and talk to them.
Especially at the senior end.
The senior, the
all
better.
About
if you're a salesperson, you should be able to navigate and go and talk to people at a senior level.
At the senior end, it's all about networking. I mean, I tell my students who are not at the senior end, but I want to lay this foundation. It's not about who you know. It's not about what you know. It's about who knows what you know. And if you are a senior leader in any field, you would have established your network at this point. And if you haven't, well, exactly. So I haven't, and I'm an IT leader. What do I do now?
Well, you need to go and create one. If you've got, they often, there's a saying that it takes more time to actually get a job than it does to actually work in the job. So if you need to get a job, you need to spend your time full time. And as I said, you've got your total market, the person that needs to, that's your target, and you go and talk to them. Just as you would do as a salesperson when you lay out your territory in front of you and say, I'm the managing director of this territory. How am I going to make my number out of it? And what we do is we're going to make our number ultimately is going to get a job. And we lay it out and say, who are we going to target? And you go and talk to people and go knock on doors.
But even people that aren't in sales, that aren't in a customer facing role, if you've been in business for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, you should have a network of several thousand people that know who you are. People that
yes, they should do, Adam, but they don't.
Well, maybe not in terms of connections, but the people that they've bumped into, and the people that they've worked with, and the people that they've interacted with on projects and as suppliers and partners on projects, those people should all have had a good impression of you, because if you're competent and you're senior, then hopefully you would create a good impression with these people. Now, if you haven't found a way of keeping in touch with them, and obviously social, particularly LinkedIn in the business world, is the perfect mechanism for doing that. If you haven't already done that, you should have done. So, shame on you for not having done that. If you have, if you haven't, and that's your starting point, then the first thing that you need to do is to dress your profile to reflect who you are and make you approachable and everything. And then you need to go and find these people that you've known over the last 10 or 20 years and say to them, hello, we've not seen each other for ages. Is it okay if we connect? And you need to try to get those people into your network, because it's massively inappropriate to say, hi, Tim, I know that we've not spoken for 10 years, but I've just been made redundant. Is it okay? Can I, any chance you've got any jobs going? Well, no, that's 10 years ago. I've no idea who you are now. But fundamentally, you need to connect to these people, and you need to start to build bridges and PR yourself into this network that you're creating.
But if anybody wants if anyone wants a job at DLA Ignite or one of our partners, then what you should do is you should connect to me, and you should connect to Alex. Because the only way that we're going to know about you is because you've gone, hi, I'd like to connect. I saw you on the digital download. I thought the advice that you offered was okay, but this is about getting. This is a sale. You need to do exactly what you would do in a sale. You total market. You got your ICP. You go and contact them.
And it's not just about that one-on-one networking, that one-on-one outreach. It's about sharing what you know. What are the questions that people in your industry typically ask? What are the answers? There are things that you can share just for the sake of sharing, with no expectation in return.
And if what we're looking for as leaders is we're looking for somebody that has something more than just the sales acumen. What we're looking for is something that that you're interested in something. And as Adam mentioned earlier on, it could be that at Saturday you're going to play tennis. Okay, let's see that. Let's see a photo of you playing tennis. Or if you're in sales, let's see the passion for you being in sales. Find a Harvard HBR article on sales and share that and say, I've read this article and I really think that these things are important from a sales perspective. Where's your passion? Mm-hmm. Let's see the human side, but let's see the passion. Let's see the hunger in you, and the fact that you want to develop or you want to move forward, and you can project that out on social media, because that's where the modern buyer, the modern leader is going to be looking for that as well.
So Andrew brings up a good point. When senior roles do get advertised, it's often part of the process they have to follow, and will only be advertised for a day, because those roles are already filled. Of course, then he follows up with his typical humor.
Thanks, Andrew.
I'll stay a fan of DLA Ignite, Sapiro, and Flywheel. Thanks for the offer. Apparently, we can't hire him.
We can keep trying, though.
Yeah. So some of the other things that came to mind, we were talking earlier about standing out, and I remember speaking with my freshmen last semester, talking to them about cover letters and using the cover letter to stand out. Now, when I talk about cover letters, the students push back, my candidates push back, the industry in general pushes back, saying, at best, only 1 in 3 hiring managers or recruiters read your cover letter. And I say to that, great. I don't have to write a cover letter if you can just tell me which 2 out of 3 are going to ignore it. Because they cannot, I contend that you should include it each and every time. And that gets
100%.
overwhelming to most of them.
Which brings us again to the point of refining the jobs that you're applying for.
Well,
because if you're going to apply for 500 jobs, you can't write, because it should be handwritten, you can't write 500 covering notes. So choose the 10 that you want, apply for those, write 10 notes.
That's exactly what I told one of the students when she pushed back. She literally said, I will be applying to 300 jobs when I graduate. You cannot expect me to write 300 individual cover letters. And I shared with her exactly what Adam was saying. Do not ever think that you will be applying to 300 jobs. If you're applying to 300, you might as well apply to 0, because that's how many you will get.
You're throwing shit at the wall and hoping it will stick.
But
you would never do. You wouldn't do that in sales.
Right.
You would focus in on who it is that you want to sell to. You know who your target market is. You know who would be best to hire you, where you would fit best. Pick the companies that you would want to work for. Pick the first 10, apply to them, then pick the next 10. Just as you would do in sales.
Well, and also
pick the 10
and also, if it's a large company, don't assume that by sending or applying to one person in that company that you've applied to the right individual, because there could be multiple hiring managers or multiple talent acquisition experts managing.
Well, I mean, if you think about the company that the three of us have worked for, there are I don't know, hundreds of hiring managers. Oh, got an echo there.
So the intersection of customizing your cover letter to the job application and uncovering the hidden job market. How do we combine those two? Because to me, I can see a clear path to that. Do others see a clear path to the customized cover letter and the hidden job market?
Well, the hidden job market, let's touch on that for a bit, because I've just been playing around on LinkedIn, searching on different terms like hiring or layoffs, and it's amazing the amount of people that are posting about their company or their friends that are hiring. So if listeners on the call aren't doing this, then use LinkedIn to search for terms or topics related to hiring, and see what you find. That might uncover something.
I just wanted to go to Rob's comment here. Why do you think quite often those who are most interested in the role are least likely to get them? I actually think it's more based on how badly does the individual want it. Because if someone would like the job that badly, they'll go that extra mile. And there's different ways of going the extra mile, right? That's even willing to travel and meet a certain individual in person, greeting them in person, asking in person about the job, because that in itself, if someone can see that you've made the effort to leave your house, dress up smart, practice a speech, and then actually introduce yourself in person, it shows a number of different skills and qualities that individual is going to want.
You mean like an event or an exhibition where they're going to be? Yeah.
Exactly that. And even if it's an event, walk around with your laptop or your cover letter and CV and have that there ready. And maybe don't just drop in, do you have any jobs? Start a conversation. Maybe show that you have knowledge within the industry. Bring some statistics up. Have a nice conversation where it flows. Then once you've shown that you have that knowledge within the industry, then drop the question.
Exactly.
I think that's a really important point, Jensen, which is that if we were at an event or wherever we were, a networking event or whatever, we wouldn't walk in and say, buy my product because we're great. I know there's some people out there that probably said they would, but most of the time we would actually have a conversation. Because the conversation would turn around, if you say, tell me about the company, tell me about what you do, because everybody loves to tell you about themselves. And at some point that person, we have the bond of reciprocity, where that's it, reciprocity, where you say, I turn around and the person will say, well, tell me about you. Say, well, actually I just got laid off. thanks for asking. Oh, that's really terrible. And at that point, because you've spent the time investing in understanding the other person, that person is more likely to turn around and say, you know, I've had people hand me CVs and you just like, oh, God. You know, but if you've actually had a conversation with the person, you go, actually, I'll actually send it to the hiring manager. You're more likely to get the person to respond.
Yeah.
So Rob responded, actually, my point is the opposite. And again, what he said was, why do you think quite often those who are most interested in the role are the least likely to get them?
Yeah.
It's more than just interest. There also has to be acumen.
Well, those people that assume that they're right, you know, that based on their experience, they're perhaps the most qualified for the role, perhaps don't try as hard as someone who isn't. And therefore, they've made the effort to stand out and be noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rob's point, can you be overeager and not more probing? I think you can be, but I think that the problem is that your perception of what a job is shifts, doesn't it, when you are desperate for work. So you begin, if you're happy in your job and somebody that you know and like and trust comes up to you and says, I would like you to come and work with us, you're very calm about it because you've got no intention of moving. When you're out of work, all of a sudden you're looking at these things and you know that your ideal job is mid-level sales leader or technical support. And all of a sudden you're looking at jobs. Oh, I could do HR actually, because they've got a job for HR and I could probably do that because I've got a lot of the skills that they're looking for. And actually, I think that it is, yes, you become overeager, but I think that part of the problem is you become desperate. And, you know, your point, Jensen, if you walk up to somebody and you say to them at, you know, at a show or an event or in a networking opportunity, say, have you got any jobs? Well, no, I haven't got any jobs. If, however, you take some interest and you say, your company looks like it's really interesting, tell me what it's like to work there. And then they tell you what it's like to work, and you go, do you know what? That's exactly the sort of company that I would like to work at. What would I need to do to get an opportunity to work at your company? That's much more likely to get a positive response. And I think that so often people are so desperate to close the deal. Oh, I'll do that. And actually, people don't want you to do the job. They want you to your point, I think, Rob, they want you to solve the problem. The problem is we need more revenue, or we need to solve this technical problem, or we need to get better people in, and we need better contracts, or whatever the problem is. They want you to solve the problem. They don't want you to go in and do a job.
It's the same as in sales, where you can become overeager. You know, the term that's bandied about is commission brain, where you become overeager to get the sale, and
it's
it's a fine line between showing that you're interested and you're being overeager.
It's the uncertainty that's maddening. I coach clients right now. Some of them have been out of work for a while, and I can sympathize because I share with them. I've had, sadly, more than one period in my career where I've had an extended layoff. I mean, more than a year, 18 months. And every day I wake up thinking, well, is this the day? And it's the uncertainty that's maddening. If somebody said to me, Rob, you're going to have 9 months without work, and then after that 9th month, you will have a job again. While I might be disappointed at that 9 months, at least I would know. But as we go into the long weekend today, if I was dealing with that uncertainty, I couldn't enjoy the long weekend. I couldn't get away with family. I'd feel guilty about taking time for myself. Every minute that I'm not searching for a job is one more minute that I've missed. It's the uncertainty that's maddening. So what can you do instead when you do not have control over that end date? Well, the exact things that we were talking about. You can work on who knows what you know. And you do that by sharing what you know. And you do that by connecting with more who. It's hard, especially because you don't see a direct ROI. but you cannot know in advance. It's the uncertainty that's maddening.
Yeah.
But putting time and effort into doing those things that you said, Rob, just like, and to be successful in sales, you've got to prospect.
Right.
So if you don't prospect,
yeah, and
but
that investment is never wasted. If you
Exactly.
if you connect to people, they're always in your network. If you refresh your profile, it's there, visible to everyone. I mean, and I think Andrew covers an interesting point here. When hiring a replacement, do you feel that sometimes the company want an exact replacement and rule out people who may have it? Yeah, they do.
Oh, most definitely.
And the problem with that is that I've hired somebody using job description A. They've turned out to be useless. I've laid them off. When I come to rehire, I go, oh, I've got a job description for that. And I hire the next person with job description. And lo and behold, the person that I get is exactly the same as the person that's just walked out the door, and they're equally useless. So actually part of your sales job, whether you're in sales or whatever department, part of your sales job is to convince people that you are a better solution than the solution that they're looking for. But you can only do that by building the relationship, building the trust, having the conversation. And if somebody doesn't like you and doesn't know you, they're not going to listen to what you say. And even if they do listen to it, they're not going to believe it necessarily. So you have to build that trust first, which circles back to the point, you create a footprint that makes you look like you're interesting, attractive, approachable, all of those things. And then you form a relationship with someone where you say to them, tell me about you.
First impressions.
Yeah.
First impressions, so important. Yeah.
Along those same lines of the job description, so often you'll see a job description that is a Christmas wish list. Ideal candidates will have, and it'll be a list of 20 skills and traits and whatever. And when I'm working with clients that I'm recruiting on their behalf, I will push back and I will say, if I found somebody that met all 20 of these criteria or all 10 of these criteria, you wouldn't be able to afford them, right?
Yeah. And we touched on this the other day in terms of, how many people don't apply for a job because they don't feel they meet all the criteria.
Well, women. Yeah.
Women.
So
men. Now, are you, Adam?
No, not at all. No, because what happens is men say, "Oh, I think I can do that," and this is a proven thing. Men say, "Oh, I can do that," and 90-something% of men will apply for a job even if they've got less than half the required skills, thinking, "Actually, I'll be all right at this." And women, only 40% apply, even if they've got all of the skills that they're looking for, because they think maybe I'm not. And actually, that's a different problem that needs addressing.
Yeah. There's a diversity issue about job
Hugely,
descriptions.
yeah,
and it's not, it's across all sectors of diversity.
But whose responsibility is that then? The employer? I mean,
well, I think it's the candidate's responsibility as well to say, and to be braver and say, actually, I'll have a go. I would be a really good fit for your company.
And
I have seen some job posts now where at the bottom, the company actually says, we know that not everyone will have all of these skills or traits or whatever. We encourage people to apply. So it's at least an attempt to address some of that discrepancy. I don't know how effective it has been.
It's really important to try, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. And acknowledge it at the very least. We have a comment from Sean. Never ask for a job. Ask for advice. Good advice, or as Adam puts it, get the employer to explain to you about the company.
Yeah.
And then another comment that just came up from Rob. Sometimes you build rapport with the CEO having a commercial discussion, but don't necessarily hit the buyer journey. What is the problem? How does it make you feel? What does good look like in 12 months? Why haven't you done it yet? Here's how I can help.
Andrew's got a great comment as well there, Andrew Rice.
I posted it. Do you care to read it?
I can sympathize with that view regarding the uncertainty. It can be scary. I'm in that position now, having just agreed redundancy. I'm sorry, Andrew. I enjoyed my son's wedding. I've been blogging more and enjoying the garden. You have to direct your mind in these times. Live in the now. It's a beautiful day today. And Andrew, it is a beautiful sunny day to be alive.
Great point.
He also goes on to say, don't write job descriptions, write results needed. Can you give me this result? That's what you want.
Yeah.
Very true.
Spot on, Andrew. Unfortunately, we too often lean on other resources, and ChatGPT among them. We have hit the top of the hour. LinkedIn has probably already cut us off. It feels like we could go on for another hour and then some. But as we wrap up, I just wanted to thank everyone in the audience for the lively participation, the insights. If there's anyone that could use our help in any way, shape, or form, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. I know every last one of us would be willing to connect and help in any way we can. I also
Rob, can I just echo that in terms of saying,
please,
if there's anything that you heard that you don't understand, or say, I'd love to be able to do this, but I'm not quite sure how to do it, reach out to us. And
Absolutely.
we're more than happy to. We're not going to try and sell you anything. We want to help. And we're more than happy to basically have a call with you and explain to you some of those things in more detail.
and I know that QR codes on a screen are kind of silly. It's just the platform.
Oh, I love a QR code.
Love it.
QR codes are great, but if it's on the device where I'm reading the QR code, it's useless. But I did want to share with the audience, if you have something to say, it doesn't have to be specific to this topic, it could be any topic. We would love to consider more and more people as guests on this show. Feel free to fill out the form on the digitaldownload.live website under the Be Our Guest section. You can find the short link here, the QR link here, and we would love to hear from you.
Cool.
All right. Another fantastic episode in the books. Again, thank you to our audience for participating. Thank you to the panel for another great week. And I know it's a holiday week here in the States. I believe it is in the UK.
It is in the UK and in Europe as well.
Yeah.
Have a safe and happy holiday, and we will see you all next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.